بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقا ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا تسمع. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربع. أما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا في هذا الدرس في شرح منهج السالكين وتوضيح الفقه في الدين المؤلف للشيخ عبد الرحمن بن ناصر السعدي، المتوفى سنة 76 و300 وألف للهجرة، رحمه الله رحمة واسعة وأسكنه فسيح جناته. ثم أما بعد، فوقفنا في الدرس الماضي عند المسألة 24 والمئتين. طبعا يا إخوان، before we start we didn't have a درس on Wednesday as I was traveling. I couldn't conduct the درس at that time. Also, I wanted to ask you with regards to the assessment of fiqh. When you ended the assessment, were you able to know your marks at the end of the assessment? Barakallah feekum.
Yes, Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah. That means that the result automatically was turned on. هناك now I think brother always you mentioned that there was for Tafsir al-Jalalain you didn't get the result so far. I think also for Usul al-Tafsir, did you get it? For Usul al-Tafsir?
Yes, Sheikh, I got for Usul al-Tafsir but not for Tafsir al-Jalalain.
تفسير الجلالين. خلاص إن شاء الله تفسير الجلالين سننظر فيها في هذا وإن شاء الله. I couldn't because of travel I couldn't get the time. Inshallah this week hopefully there will be more time, so inshallah I'll address that issue as well بإذن الله تعالى. طيب. نبدأ الآن from مسألة 224. يقول المصنف. طبعا we were discussing كتاب الزكاة, زكاة عروض التجارة, and now he is mentioning some Masaa'il that are generic for all of the زكاة الخارج من الأرض and زكاة بهيمة الأنعام and زكاة عروض التجارة as well. Generally he's mentioning these مسائل. قال ويجب الإخراج من وسط المال, and it is obligatory to take out zakat from the average wealth, average quality of whatever type of wealth you are taking out zakat from. ولا يجزئ من الأدون, and from the lowest quality it will not be acceptable. ولا يلزم الخيار إلا أن يشاء ربه, and the best of it خيار جمع خير and that is not mandatory except if the صاحب المال رب المال, the one who owns this wealth, he wants to take out the best quality, then it is fine. However, it is not necessary, and rather the Prophet ﷺ he advised his agents with regards to this, like in the hadith of Mu'adh, وَإِيَّاكَ وَكَرَائِمَ أَمْوَالِهِمْ إِيَّاكَ وَكَرَائِمَ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. When he says إِيَّاكَ وَكَرَائِمَ أَمْوَالِهِمْ, إِيَّاكَ means this is an usloob of warning. You stay away from this. Stay away from what? Stay away from كَرَائِمَ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. What are the كَرَائِمَ أَمْوَالِهِمْ? كَرَائِم is the jam'u of karima or karim or karima. The mal that is considered as noble, the mal that is considered as of high value, that is called those are the amwal that are called kara'im. So those that are noble of high value, that kind of wealth, stay away from it. So the agents have been advised to not take the best of it, best of the wealth from the subjects, and the mukallaf has also been told that he has to take out the average quality mal. It's not necessary to take out the best quality except if someone does it out of his own will. طيب. ثم قال وفي حديث أبي هريرة مرفوعا في الركاز الخمس. What is rikaz?
That is treasure that is found. that is one like buried, treasure that is buried.
Treasure that is found buried, and it has some kind of a sign that it belongs to the Jahiliyyah. And they say, they define rikaz as Difnul Jahiliyyah. Difnul Jahiliyyah. Treasure that has been buried since Jahiliyyah, from the time of from before Islam. Treasure that has been buried before Islam. طيب قال في الركاز الخمس. Some of the ulama, they differed in the tanzir, in the you can say theorization of this mas'ala, or the conceptualization of this mas'ala, and they said that the rikaz having khums is not from the bab of zakat, rather it is from another bab. What is that bab?
Is it Sheikh like Faqad, or that the lost and found?
Luqata? Not from luqata. Luqata, you're not allowed to own it except after, announcing it for a certain period of time. And then also, if you do consume it or you do benefit from the luqata, even then, if the sahib al-mal comes to you, then you will have to pay him back. Not from the bab of luqata. But if you focus on fi rikaz al-khums, what other thing do you have to take out khums from?
That is from the malul ghanima.
فأن لله خمسه وللرسول ولذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين. أحسنت. So they say that this is it is the conceptualization of rikaz, they make it from the bab of ghanima and ghanaim generally, etc. هنا كان ذكر اللحظة، ذكر النص. طيب ننتقل للمسألة التالية. قال باب زكاة الفطر. طبعا يا إخوان، وزكاة الفطر. Firstly, just a general introduction. What is زكاة الفطر?
Sheikh, just a reminder, like last class you had said we will discuss zakat on things that you sell on installments. And
أيوة، كانت هناك عدة مسائل. There were a number of مسائل that we had written down, right? What were they?
Yes, Sheikh, that things, zakat on things that you sell on installments, and zakat on savings that you set aside for some liabilities or returning a loan.
Yeah, these are two مسائل that we said we were going to discuss. Or three, or there are three?
I wrote that there's two masail as far as I remember.
أحسنت. طيب ممتاز. So قبل ما نبدأ طيب خلونا لحظة. طيب because the مسائل of زكاة الفطر ستطول بنا, we will just first discuss these مسائل. أحسنت. طيب let's discuss the second مسألة first, which is if you are setting aside some kind of a mal for any kind of a liability that you have to pay for, or مثلا you had some debts that you have to pay for, or let us say that you are you have rented a house and you pay for it. So for example, for every 6 months you have to pay for it. So or every year you have to pay for it. So هنا the mal that you're setting aside for it, will it be liable for zakat? Will zakat apply to it, or will it not? Here there are two scenarios. First scenario is that if the payment is not done in advance, yani you live 6 months, for example, and then you make the payment for 6 months, or you live for the whole year and then you make the payment for the whole year, then in this case, yani whatever mal that you're setting aside with the passage of time, it does not belong to you, rather it belongs to whom? Hi, Ikhwan. I couldn't hear you. Can you just give me 1 second? Maybe there's some fault with my internet connection. Just give me 1 second. I'll just try to fix it. Then I'll ask you to repeat. 1 second. نعم أخي. Can you repeat now your answer? Hello?
Yes, Sheikh. Hello.
No, yes.
Yes, Sheikh. Actually, I am also facing issue in this. Like my network is also fluctuating.
Now it's better. Now it's better.
I didn't actually get the question. Like 6 months or the part you said 6 months or 1 year. I didn't get it.
Yani, for example, here you are living in a house on rent, and the rent you have to pay after you have lived in that house for a year. For example, and usually the payments when it comes to the rent, it's made in advance, right? But let's say it's not being made in advance. After you have already spent a year, then you pay for the year that has passed. Yani, let's say from Muharram of 1443 to Muharram of 1444, you after you having spent this time in the home that you have rented, now you have to pay the rent for it. So in this case, the mal that you were setting aside, will it be will it be considered your mal, or will it be considered the mal of the of the owner of the house? Will you be paying zakat on this mal that you have been saving for the whole year to pay the rent, or will you be not paying this zakat?
It's like the scenario which you give, this amount is certain. Like this is for sure. This is for that like rent or any bill. So this is for sure. I know that this is going to that. I have to pay this. There is no other alternate. Or this is like fixed.
This is like what?
So the zakat should not be like paid on this, like, because that this is going. This will go to that the rent part. So this I will treat as if it is my mal.
Ahsant, here, because this mal, the fact that you're not giving it to him right now, that is because it is like a loan that he has given to you. But this mal belongs to him, and the ownership is for that person for whom you have to pay by the end of the year. And at the time of the, let's say for the time of the zakat, for example, this mal must be, because you have spent a certain amount of time in that house. Now, so the certain part of your wealth now belongs to that man, which you are not giving right now to the owner of the house because he's asked you to give it at the end of the year, for example. But it belongs to him because you have spent this much amount of time. So now this amount of mal does not belong to you anymore, even though the tasarruf is in your hand. Tasarruf means you can you can handle it, you can do whatever you want with it. But it is not your ownership. You don't own that mal. Right, that's number one. So for example, if the rent is from Muharram to Muharram, and you pay zakat in Ramadan, okay, and when Ramadan comes, it's not time for you to pay the rent. You will pay the rent. You will be paying the rent in Muharram, but you have, let's say, for every month, 2,000 riyals you have been saving. By the time it is Ramadan, you have saved 18,000 riyals. So will you be paying zakat on this 18,000 riyals at this time? This is the amount you have been setting aside for the rent. We are discussing the same mas'ala, but we're trying to put it in a scenario.
This is kept for that particular purpose, and like this has to go. This loans, this sure this have to.
I couldn't hear you, Akhi. Your voice was cut off. It's still a little bit. It's still not. Labas. Once he joins again, inshallah, he can complete his answer. So we were saying that this mal that you have set aside to pay this rent, you will not be asked to pay zakat on it. Why? Because this mal in reality, it belongs to the one who has who's the owner of the house, who's the owner of the house. And this is just like someone who pays you, someone who lends you an amount of money for 1 year. He gives you a loan, and you have to return his loan in a particular month, and you have been setting aside some amount every month to pay that loan. So whatever that is by that time, it will be considered the ownership of the sahib al-mal, the one who has the da'in, the one who has lent you this loan, and hence it will not be zakatable. This is what you had in mind, Akhi Owais?
Yes, can you hear my voice?
No, now I can hear you.
Yes, because like not the owner. This bin mal belongs to someone else. So not zakat will not be calculated on this mal.
Ahsan. Fine. Now let us come to the mas'ala. For example, if someone pays the rent in advance, before you have to, before you start living in the house, you have to pay the rent for 1 year in advance, and likewise the next year you have to set aside some mal to pay the rent for the year after in advance. So مثل هذا هل will this mal be subject to zakat or will it not be subject to zakat?
It is like that year has not started, Sheikh, right?
The year has not started. For example, you're going to, you have been living in this house for some years now, and this Muharram, you will be paying the rent for the upcoming year. So, for example, you will be paying the rent for the year 1445, مثلا. So, which has not started yet.
Like, because this year has not started, and this like there is no there is no responsibility on me till as of now, like presently. So like this like
This amount that you're setting aside is not due on you as such.
yes, right now it's not. I do, then it will be another case.
I lost your voice again.
Yes, Sheikh, can you hear my voice?
Now I can hear you again. No.
So yes, Sheikh, so there is no responsibility as of now. So this is like for the future, and the year is not started. So like
so on this month, you will be in this month, we will be paying لم أسمعك. I lost your voice. Will we be paying zakat on this or will we not? Allah understand. طيب لحظة, let me just reach in the chats. Yes, zakat should be good. Ahsan. Because right now this is not the, this mal does not belong to the to the owner of the house. Hence, in this kind of a scenario, you will be paying zakat. Mumtaz. And if this masala is clear, then the masala of debts also should be clear, which is similar to it. For example, if there is a kind of a debt that is due to be paid right now, and then of course that particular amount you will be deducting from your mal when paying zakat. And if it is not due right now, only if part of it is due, then only that part will be deducted. Wallahu a'lam. طيب لحظة. One second. طيب هنا مسألة أخرى that we mentioned with regards to if you are selling something on installments. For example, you own a car showroom and you sell cars on installments. So in this case, how will you be paying the zakat of that car? Because that car is from urud al-tijara. So how will you be paying the zakat of that particular car, for example? Now let us say before you have sold the car, of course, it is your ownership, everything. So now this year, you will be paying the zakat for it. It's your عرض التجارة. But let's say the next year, when the customer has paid the installments for 1 year. Let's say you have sold the car on 4-year installments, and for 1 year, the customer has paid the installments. Now, will you, as the owner of this business, will you be paying zakat on it, or will you not be paying zakat on this car? Or if you would be paying, then how much will you be paying zakat on this car? هنا if you're able to hear me, the ownership after 1 year, we will divide the ownership into parts now. So after the payment of installments for 1 year, now the owner of the car showroom owns 3/4 of the car. Owns 3/4 of the car, and the customer, he owns 1/4 of the car. Hence, the صاحب المعرض, or the one who owns the showroom, he will be paying a zakat on 3/4 of the car, and then the year after that, which will be after which the installments of 2 years have been paid, then he will be paying zakat on half of the value of the car, and then the next year after that, on 1/4 of the value of the car. So his ownership will keep diminishing with the passage of time, and the customer his ownership will increase with the passage of time. So, for example, after the first year of installments, because the customer has bought this car for his as for kunya, for using and benefiting from it by himself. So in this case, he wouldn't have to pay zakat on it. But the issue is with the owner of the car showroom. He's doing a business here. For him, this car is out of tijara. So will he be paying on the full amount of the car? No. There will be a lot of you can say darar, and a lot of khasara, a lot of loss for him. So he will be only paying as whatever amount he of the car he will be considered the owner of. So after 1 year, he will, for example, if you divide the installments over the passage of 4 years, after 1 year, he will be owning 3/4 of the car. Or let's say, not necessarily, that might not be the case. It also depends on, for example, what was the the first payment that was to be made in advance, and also that we have at the end of the deal, we have like the dafa al-akhira, or which we call as the last payment, or the last balloon payment. So we have all kinds of things here that are involved. So we look at the amount that has already been paid, and we will calculate the percentage of ownership, and hence ask the owner of the car, or you can say of the car showroom of the business, to pay zakat in accordance with it. Is this mas'ala clear, ya akhi?
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
The person sells, he has sold like 1,000 amount, and like if he's paying in over like every year he's paying like 10,000. Can you hear me?
No, every year he's paying 10,000, and the car is for how much?
Yes. So 50,000 rupees is on every year he's paying 10,000.
Okay.
Here the person will have 10,000 with him, and so he will pay on this 10,000, right? For the first year he has 10,000. So 10,000, and he received another 10,000.
I lost you. I lost you at 10,000. Can you write the question? If you can write this question, that will be easier, inshallah. If you can type it for us.
Can you hear it now?
It's still very it's getting interrupted, the voice very. طيب لا بأس إن شاء الله. إذا عاد الأخ إن شاء الله we will بإذن الله تعالى discuss this issue again بإذن الله تعالى. طيب الآن ننتقل إلى زكاة الفطر. زكاة الفطر بارك الله فيكم, as is suggested by the term itself, زكاة الفطر, zakat associated with, related to the fitr. Fitr is the breaking of the fast. So it is related to, it's a sadaqah that is to be given out at the time of the breaking of fast, that is at the end of Ramadan, at the end of Ramadan. طبعا الأخ أويس راجع الآن. Brother Ois, if you can يعني type the question, بارك الله فيك, that will be easier بإذن الله تعالى.
Is my voice audible now?
Now it's audible, mashallah. Now you can discuss.
Like if the person sold something for 50,000, so the installment is 10,000 per year. So the first year the customer pays him 10,000. So the owner has 10,000 right now with him. So he will pay zakat on 10,000. Then second comes in again, the customer gives him 10,000 more. So he will pay zakat on 10,000. So is this the way?
لحظة. It's paying him 10,000 in the first year, then another 10,000 the next year. طيب هذه بتحتاج إلى نظر. I might be getting confused with regards to this مسألة. I will look into it again. Inshallah, we will discuss this مسألة again. بإذن الله تعالى. I think that will be better, so that we have more clarity with regards to this. Inshallah. خلاص يا أخي. We will inshallah discuss this again بإذن الله تعالى. This مسألة in particular. طيب. الآن باب زكاة الفطر. قال عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما أنه قال فرض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم زكاة الفطر صاعا من تمر أو صاعا من شعير على العبد والحر والذكر والأنثى والصغير والكبير والمسلم. معنى هذا أن زكاة الفطر is واجب upon each and everyone. How much is the amount? Sa', and we mentioned the sa' is 4 amdad, and how much did we mention was 1 mud? How many milliliters?
It was a 0.688.
Ahsan. And so how much will be 1 sa'?
It will come down to 2.752 per liter. 2.752 liters.
Ahsantum. Barakallah. So in 2.752 liters, in terms of this is the unit of volume, as you mentioned, of tamr or sha'ir, which was the staple food in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. In another riwayah, sa'am min ta'am. Ta'am in that time would refer to bur. And in another, in that riwayah, aqit has also been mentioned. And aqit is like you can say dried yogurt. It's kind of a dried yogurt, aqit. And once, subhanAllah, one of our mashayikh, he had brought it to our class. That is the dried milk, you can say, or dried yogurt. And when we, subhanAllah, it was so difficult to eat. It tasted so, it was so bitter. Allahu alam how the people at that time would eat it, subhanAllah. But that was their staple food, and at times that is what their main course would be at that time. So if you get the chance, I'm not sure if you will, if you still find it. Aqit, he brought it from some shop in Mecca. I'm not sure if dried yogurt in any solid form is it still sold or where we can find it. But subhanAllah, it was very bitter. So that these are different foods that have been mentioned in different riwayat. على العبد.
This yogurt is like, I think, is this similar to cheese? Some I used to read like some would translate is that cheese. Is it something like cheese?
Wallahi, it was very hard. It was very solid. So, and did it taste like cheese? It didn't taste like cheese. I'm not sure. I think in order to make cheese, they have to add some kind of an enzyme, right? In order to produce cheese. But aqit, I don't think they would add any kind of enzyme in particular to make. So it's not exactly cheese. Wallahu alam.
Because like here in this part of the world, like we hear like the scholars, like the alim speaking, like they say like zakat is like, here they use the term paneer. I don't know if it's used there or not. So
Paneer
they
is for
say,
cheese, right?
yes, yes. So I have heard this in the khutbah and other places as well from the mukarrir, the speaker. I've heard. I remember like they tell it's paneer. I remember this. They
Wallah,
translate it.
then we look into it, inshallah. We'll check again whether the method of making aqid is similar to that of cheese. So can it be called cheese or no? تحتاج إلى نظر. When I say that dried yogurt, that's also a kind of a description, the closest that I can describe for you. That's why. So I'm not exactly sure how it's prepared. So we need to look into how it's prepared, and then inshallah we can determine whether it's cheese or not. Yes, tafadhal.
It's like the one mud we say is one mud. This was also this. This is like a handful. Like two. If we cup two hands, so is this the way they used, the Sahabas, they used to measure? Like they used to cup their hands, or was there any specific container for mud as well?
Yani this is when they say that it's a handful of an average yani person. This is yani you can say a kind of a taqreeb of the surah. Taqreeb yani just to bring the concept yani close to our minds for us to be able to understand it. Yani, but is it yani the very way in which they would measure it, or would they have containers of mud? Allahu alam. What it seems to be the case is that they would have a kind of a container for mud. Yani for example, when you read about the fact that the Prophet ﷺ yani, would perform his wudu with one mud, and for example for ghusl he would do it with one sa'. So yani, it seems like yani, there would be containers that would contain this much of an amount. هذا الذي يظهر. This is what seems to be the case. And then these very containers yani, we have been Yani Ahlul Madinah, they have been using it often. And then, for example, Imam Malik would refer to the maqayis, to the measurements of Ahlul Madinah to derive the rulings related to these measurements. Also, the mud that we find today with the isnad, that also is based on some of these amdad that have been transmitted from generation to generation over the years. So what seems to be the case for Allahu Alam is that they would have some kind of a container in which they would measure these amdad. Wallahu Alam. طيب. لحظة. طيب ثم قال وأمر بها. طبعا هنا ذكر صاع من شعير على العبد والحر, on the عبد and the حر. طيب العبد ليس له مال, how will he pay? العبد يعني it doesn't own anything, so how will he pay?
His master will pay for him.
أحسنت, on his behalf. كذلك الذكر والأنثى, يعني مثلا الصغير والكبير. الصغير إذا لم يكن له مال, if the صغير doesn't have any mal, how will he pay? Again, his wali amr will be responsible for the payment of zakat al-fitr on his behalf. والكبير الصغير الكبير والمسلم. وأمر بها أن تؤدى قبل خروج الناس إلى الصلاة. And he commanded that it should be paid before the people come out or set out for salat on the day of Eid. قال وتجب طبعا لنفسه ولمن تلزمه مؤنته. It is mandatory upon him to take out zakat, and upon the Muslim, upon the mukallaf, on behalf of himself, وَلِمَنْ تَلْزَمُهُ مُؤْنَتُهُ, and on behalf of those whom he is obliged to bear the expenses of, like his family, like his wife, like his children, etc. وَإِنْ كَانَ لَهُمْ مَالٍ, يعني, then he can take it out from their mal as well. Yani if they have some kind of a mal that they own, then يعني, the zakat al-fitr can be paid from their own mal as well. قال أما قال إذا كان ذلك فاضلا عن قوت يومه وليلته. Here the Musannif mentions the shart of wujub zakat al-fitr. لشرط في وجوب زكاة الفطر إذا كان ذلك فاضلا عن قوت يومه وليلته. ما معنى هذا؟ إذا كان فاضلا عن قوت يومه وليلته. That
Qut refers to like the basic necessity, like the bare minimum or the requirement one should.
نعم قوت يومه وليلته. نعم.
If someone has like the requirements like 1 day and 1 night's food, like 1 day and 1 night's sustenance, like basic sustenance he has, then it is mandatory on him zakat al-fitr.
To pay zakat al-fitr. And this is the qawl of the Musannif. On the other hand, some of the ulama, they have mentioned that zakat al-fitr would be wajib upon whom zakat al-amwal is wajib. يعني someone who is considered as غني. ومن this مسألة يعني as يعني it is known, it's مختلف فيها and الله أعلم which one is the راجح here. However, we can يعني مثلا mention some أدلة with regards to this. لحظة. This is the call of the Jumhur. And يعني the one who has enough sustenance for himself and he has enough wealth to fulfill his needs for that day and night, for 1 day and night, then he has to pay zakatu al-fitr. And on the other hand, I think it is the Ahnaf who say that they have to, it's mandatory zakat al-fitr for those who are considered as ghani. Ghani, someone upon whom zakat al-amwal is wajib. And the reason that they mention is that the Jumhur mention is the fact that the hadith of Ibn Umar is generic, and it's generic, and as long as someone finds enough sustenance for himself and for his family for a day and night, then he has to pay zakatul fitr, because the amr in the hadith is general. The question is, why did they exclude the sustenance of 1 day and 1 night?
Like is it like Sheikh related to one of the other hadiths which there is like the person who has a day's food and night, like it is as if the whole world, he has the whole world, as if he has all provisions.
ممكن you can use this hadith as well in this mas'ala, but there is another dalil related to zakat al-fitr, and when one of the hadith in which the hikmah of zakat al-fitr is mentioned.
Like this will serve as the food for the like for the poor.
In one of the riwayat, it was mentioned أغنوهم عن السؤال في هذا اليوم. Let them be self-sufficient for this day. They shouldn't need to beg the people or ask the people for food and money on this day. أغنوهم عن السؤال. They should at least be sufficient for this day. So based on this, for the next whole day, if you have enough, then whatever is additional to it, then you have to pay it in the zakat al-fitr, in the form which is food. Why is that the case? Because if you pay, for example, you only have food for the Eid day, and you part of it you to take it out in zakat al-fitr, then you yourself will be someone who will have to ask on this day. So يعني the hikmah of the legislation of Zakat al-Fitr was to make the poor people sufficient, self-sufficient for this thing. So if you are paying Zakat al-Fitr and then you become needy yourself, then يعني this goes against the hikmah for which Zakat al-Fitr was legislated. Wallahu a'lam. قال the shart number 3 is صاع من تمر أو شعير أو أقط أو زبيب أو بر طبعا. So التمر معروف dates, and الشعير is يعني you can say barley, and أقط, as you mentioned, is dried yogurt, and zabib is the dried grapes, or in other words يعني raisins. These are grapes that are dried and they become zabib. أو بر طبعا, or wheat. And Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, يعني he considered that burr because it is a higher quality food, so 2 muds will be enough to be paid in Zakat al-Fitr instead of 1 whole sa'. So this was يعني one of the ara in the Sahaba, and based on this ra'i, يعني because the fact that Muawiyah radiallahu anhu took into consideration the value of the food, based on this, those who allow يعني paying Zakat al-Fitr in the form of money, they allow it. يعني one of the adilla for this qawl is the fact that Muawiyah radiallahu anhu took into consideration the value of the food. Amongst other adilla, we have the qawl of Al-Hasan al-Basri and Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, wherein he wrote a letter to the agents, to his يعني ummal, and he asked them to take zakat يعني al-fitr in the form of food or in the form of money. So we have some يعني the salaf who allowed the payment of zakat al-fitr in the form of money. However, the asl is, like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has made it mandatory, the asl is that it will be given out in the form of food if there is a greater maslaha. يعني, for example, the food is in abundance, but there is no money, for example, to buy some other necessities, let's say medicines or clothes, or so any kind of necessity. There is a greater maslaha, then maybe we can move away from the asl and we say that, okay, because the hikmah of the Zakat al-Fitr is to make the poor people self-sufficient for that, to say that they would not need to ask help from others and beg for it. So because this is the hikmah, and right now, even if you provide them with food, they already have it. But what they will still have to ask people for help for other necessities that they don't have. So because of this greater maslaha here, it will allow the payment of Zakat al-Fitr in the form of money, based on these aqwal of some of the Salaf, like Al-Hasan al-Basri or Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimallahu al-jami'. قال والأفضل فيها الأنفع. الأفضل فيها, what is the best food to give out in Zakat al-Fitr? قال الأنفع, the one that is more beneficial. And the ulama, they have used qiyas because they found that the common trait in all of these 4 foods or 5 foods was that they were the staple foods of that time. So they applied qiyas here, and they said that Zakat al-Fitr should be given out in whatever is the staple food of the place that we live in is. And so instead of, for example, in our times, giving out aqit, for example, which will not be consumed by anyone, rather it will be difficult for them to consume, we should give out something that is eaten by the people, that is their staple food in our time. So for example, in Saudi Arabia, for you can say wheat and bread and rice, both of them are considered staple foods. So one should give out, for example, wheat or rice, which is considered as staple food in our time. But if you give out aqit, then you are you can say going against the very reason why Zakat al-Fitr was legislated. طيب هنا أيضا نذكر قال ولا يحل تأخيرها عن يوم العيد. It is not permissible to delay it from يوم العيد. In fact, in the hadith is mentioned أمر بها أن تؤدى قبل خروج الناس إلى الصلاة. So before the salat, it must be paid off. It must be paid off. طيب, if someone forgot or someone couldn't do it, يعني, is he supposed to pay it on يوم العيد, or is he not supposed to pay it after the salat? لأنه فات وقتها, ماذا يفعل؟
Like if the person does not pays it, like, and then he pays it will be like general sadaqah, general sadaqah.
General sadaqah is الذي يظهر الله أعلم, يعني if someone has يعني been unable to pay it for some kind of an udhr, then in this case والله أعلم, يعني he can pay right after the salat or as soon as possible, even if it is after the salat. This will be qada طبعا, but يعني because he couldn't pay it before it for some kind of udhr, then inshallah it might be يعني accepted بإذن الله تعالى. طيب, هنا ذكر وقد فرضها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم طهرة للصائم من اللغو والرفث وطعمة للمساكين. طهرة للصائم, purification for the one who's fasting from the يعني idle talk that he might have indulged in, or in evil speech that he would have indulged in during his fast. So this will purify his fast from these sins. وطعمة للمساكين, also serve as food for the poor ones. فمن أداها قبل الصلاة فهي زكاة مقبولة, ومن أداها بعد الصلاة فهي صدقة من الصدقات. يعني لكن if someone for some kind of udhr, يعني he leaves it out, he must pay even if it is after the salat. He must at least pay as a qada. والله يتقبل منه. قال وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم 7 يظلهم الله في ظله يوم لا ظل إلا ظله: إمام عادل، وشاب نشأ في طاعة الله، ورجل قلبه معلق بالمساجد، ورجلان تحابا في الله اجتمع عليه وتفرقا عليه، ورجل دعته امرأة ذات منصب وجمال فقال إني أخاف الله، ورجل تصدق بصدقة فأخفاها حتى لا تعلم شماله ما تنفق يمينه، ورجل ذكر الله خالٍ ففاضت. 7 people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shade them with his shade on the day of judgment. And the maqsood here, the shahid here, is this person whom is mentioned as وَرَجُلٌ تَصَدَّقَ بِصَدَقَةٍ فَأَخْفَاهَا حَتَّى لَا تَعْلَمَ شِمَالُهُ مَا تُنْفِقُهُ يَمِينُهُ. In this mas'ala, the musannif is alluding to the adab, the manner of giving sadaqah, and that is that the best way of giving sadaqah is to hide it and conceal it so much that it can be said as an exaggeration, or it can be said that even your left hand does not know what your right hand does. He did it in such a concealed fashion and such a hidden manner that even your left hand couldn't know what your right hand was doing. So this is the adab of paying sadaqah, and this is the best way of doing it. Is it permissible to at times show off the sadaqah? نعم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول إن تبدوا الصدقات فنعم ما هي، فنعم ما هي فنعم ما هي، how good it is. وإن تخفوها وتؤتوها الفقراء فهو خير لكم. But if you hide and conceal it and then give it to the fuqara, then that is even better for you. And based on this ayah, we can also derive another mas'ala, and that is that yes, sometimes given the maslahah, it is good to do some good deed in front of everyone so that it serves as encouragement for others. But if you want more reward, then one should do it in a hidden manner, in a concealed manner. And there is a mas'ala that ulama mentioned, and that is that what if there was some good deed that you did and you tell about it to others, and you tell about this good deed to others? Will some ulama, they have mentioned that the ajr will be reduced. The ajr will be reduced if you tell about this good deed that you were doing hidden. So on what basis do they say that the ajr will be reduced? They say this on the basis of this ayah. When the ayah says And فَنِعِمَّا هِي, it is good when you openly give sadaqah. وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا وَتُؤْتُوهَا الْفُقَرَاءَ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It is even better for you if you hide it and give it to the fuqara. So based on this, then the hidden deeds, they have a greater reward, and deeds that are shown off to others, they have generally a lesser reward. Even though that you do it for some kind of a maslaha, it is required at times, and because of the requirement at that time, maybe you might get some extra reward. But the general rule is that the hidden deeds have a greater reward. And if there was a deed that was hidden and concealed, however, you later on disclosed it to someone, then the reward will be reduced. Also on the basis of this very ayah, فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ, as long as it was concealed, it was better. As soon as you disclosed it to someone, then it was, its khayr was less than when it was undisclosed. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. طيب, أخونا Owais, you will remind us inshallah in the next dars as well, that is tomorrow, regarding the mas'ala of the installments بإذن ta'ala. طيب inshallah.
Okay, Sheikh, inshallah.
بارك الله فيكم. جزاك الله خيرا. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.